Good evening and welcome to Discovery Days for Impact Austin 101. I'd like to welcome you and thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Before I introduce our speakers, I would just like to tell you a little bit about my entry into Impact Austin. I was attending a fundraiser for another nonprofit organization, happened to sit at a table with an Impact Austin member, and she said to me, "We need to get you into Impact Austin." I, of course, said, "Well, what is Impact Austin?" And so she proceeded to tell me, etc. And she mentioned that they have coffees and you can get more information. And so I said, okay. So I attended the first one. I believe it was at Grapevine Market. Now, the interesting thing is it was called a coffee, but there was no coffee served. There was wine and cheese and a lot of good chatting, etc., and message from the people in the organization. So I was pretty well convinced after a couple of meetings, but I went to a number of the events, so much so that I became known as the stalker for the organization. So I've had a couple of people tell me that I stalked the organization before I joined. And what I will tell you is that it was very, very well organized. It ran on time, meetings were well done. And the most interesting thing to me and appealing was the fact that the money that I put in was pooled with that of other people to make a larger impact in the area. Now, I have been given money to organizations and attending galas and buying gowns and all of that. And this sounded like a much more impactful way to make contributions to the greater Austin community. So after I figured out how it worked, I was in and have been on committees and finance review committee, served on the board of directors and membership and lots of involvement with Impact Austin. It is very, very, once it gets you or you get it, it's very involving, and you will find yourself feeling very, very grateful and very proud when you see and know that Impact Austin has made such a significant impact into the Austin community. And you're so prideful when you see a bus or an item that we have purchased with the name on it, or we go to one of those events where we give out the checks. It's just such a moment of pride. And so that's my story, but enough about me. I'd like to thank our sponsors. The premier sponsors are C2C Media and Dochin Realtors. The other sponsors that we have are leadership and philanthropy level sponsors as indicated on the slide. And of course, it's very, very nice if you would patronize those sponsors and say a special thank you to them for their support to help make this event possible. Just a little bit about who we are. As I mentioned before, we've been around about 17 years and as a granting organization in the Austin area, more than 2,200 women philanthropists. And that's another source of pride for me, is to say that I am a philanthropist participating with other women to make a huge impact in the Austin area, $7.4 million worth of impact. Through 94 grants to organizations that we have supported throughout these 17 years. So it's very much a source of pride when you look at the organization as a whole and realize that it's women who are making this huge impact. So just know that once you get in, and I'm sure that you're going to want to come in after you hear these presentations tonight. And so this money has been done one member at a time. Every woman has a vote, and it's just very, very impactful. So thank you to our past and current members. And my hope is that many of you will be inspired to join us. Now, I also invite you to check out the Impact Austin website for more details about membership. I would also tell you that if cost is a barrier and you're interested in being a member and involved, please reach out to us and we will find a way to make that happen. Okay, so I would like to introduce the speakers for the evening are Becky Austin, and Becky and I were class of 2010 members, so she is my classmate. She's currently the Grantmaking and Strategic Partnership Chair. Nicole Genovese is the Impact Austen Office Manager, and the first speaker that we're going to hear from is Robin Krumme. And Robin is an Impact Austen member, class of 2017, and is currently the Downtown Zone Captain and first year member engagement chair. So as you hear these speakers, please listen for how long they've been involved. And I think you'll get a sense that we don't have a requirement for having to be in the organization any certain length of time. You come in, you do as much as you feel like you want to do. The door is open and we welcome you. Robin?
Thanks, Lorene. My name is Robin Krumme. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. I'm sure that our new members are like, what's a zone captain? So I will definitely get to that. But I've been asked to speak with you tonight about engagement and Impact Austen through two sort of topics. One is social engagement, and the other is engagement as a new member. So I'm first going to talk about social engagement through our zones. If you're a new member, you might have received a welcome letter from me recently. If you're visiting with us and you're not yet a member of Impact Austen, you might not have heard about what zones are. Several years ago, our members started requesting a more robust social experience. And as a result, some really innovative women in Impact Austen got together and came up with a concept called the zones. Basically, the zones are zoned areas of town where members would get together every 6 to 8 weeks for a social event. So there was a North Austin zone, a downtown zone, and members would sign up for zones where they worked or where they lived. And we had amazing events. We had potluck dinners, we had tons of happy hours, of course. We had tours of the Blanton Museum, we had wine tastings. Our members met at farmers markets for breakfast. And so we really, really enjoyed those events. Now, unfortunately, after COVID, we couldn't meet in person anymore. So we switched to virtual zone events through Zoom. Instead of staying in our zones, all of our members are invited to each zone event that occurs virtually over Zoom. We've had a really good time. I'd love to encourage you to come to a zone event. They're structured, they're organized, they're theme-based. Our members get an opportunity to introduce themselves to each other and to talk a little bit about themselves. And we've had a really, really good time. Our next two zone events are planned in February and March. And so in February, we'll be getting together on the 16th for a Valentine themed zone event. And in March, we're actually going to have a cheese class from Antonelli's Cheese. We're very excited about that. Kendall Antonelli is a member of Impact Austen. We're excited about supporting a local business during COVID, and would love to just issue a special invitation to all of you to join those zone events. You will get an email, so you don't even have to reach out. An email will be coming to you as a member of Impact Austen. If you would like to invite a friend to a zone event to learn about Impact Austen, all you have to do is forward that email to your friend. We would love to have visitors. It's part of our networking, it's part of our recruitment, and it's a lot of fun. Now for for our new members on this webinar, I'm also the new member engagement chair. So you might have received a welcome letter from me, and if you've joined in 2020 or 2021, I want to assure you that we have a robust new member plan. We usually have in-person orientations. This year we did one over Zoom. It was quite successful. We usually have a special party for our new members at someone's house where our new members meet our board members and leaders of Impact Austen. I can assure you we are going to have that party just as soon as we can. And if you are a member of the 2020 class or the 2021 class, you will receive an invitation to that. We also have had new member lunches where we get together with our executive director, and our new members are given an opportunity to meet in small groups, ask questions. We have not been able to have those in-person lunches, but we do expect to have some virtual new member lunches soon. And then as soon as we can get together, we'll start that again. And again, you are invited to bring a friend to these new member lunches to learn more about Impact Austen. Another great way to network with your friends, meet new friends, and we're very much looking forward to starting that again when we can meet in person. These events are sort of natural networking events. And so I know Nicole in a little while is going to introduce you to our member portal, but when you're socializing with your Impact Austen members, you can also network with them. And I know that a lot of our members absolutely try to go to an Impact Austen member who's a dentist, or they'll go get cheese from Kendall Antonelli because she's an Impact Austen member. So these social events are also a fantastic way to network. Now, I would like to talk to our new members about getting involved in committees with Impact Austen. You might have heard that you can be as involved with Impact Austen or as uninvolved with Impact Austen. But we love our new members to contribute any talents that they have as part of our trust-based model. And doing that is easy. I can tell you from my experience, my first year as an Impact Austen member, I joined a grant review committee. You've heard, I know a lot about grant review committees. We call them GRCs. And I was a little intimidated. I don't have an accounting background. I don't have a finance background. I really didn't even know a lot about the nonprofit world. I joined Impact Austen because I had met a woman who introduced me to her Impact Austen friends. And I thought, wow, these ladies are great. I want to be a part of what they're a part of. So I was a little intimidated when I decided to join a grant review committee. But I can tell you that it was an amazing experience. The infrastructure is there to teach you everything that you need to know. There's a lot of resources that are available to you as a grant review committee member. And really, it is the heart and soul of Impact Austen. And I can tell you that after serving on a GRC, you will feel very, very proud, and you will come away with a lot of knowledge about nonprofits in Austen and the needs of our community. It's an amazing experience. So I want to encourage you, if you're feeling a little intimidated, please don't be intimidated. The grant review committee process is so organized, and so many resources there to help you. And really that applies to any volunteer opportunity in Impact Austen. Even if you feel like you're not qualified to join the marketing committee or the technology committee, they want you. They will teach you, they will mentor you, they will guide you, and it will be a really great experience for you and for those leaders who are heads of those committees. I can tell you there's discrete projects if you don't have a lot of time. There's bigger projects if you have more time. So there's something for everybody, and it's a really great way to get involved with Impact Austen if that's what you would like to do. And finally, for our new members, I'd like to tell you that we have mentors. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by becoming a new member of a big organization, reach out and let me know. I will introduce you to a Impact Austen member who would love to have a virtual coffee with you, a virtual glass of wine with you, maybe meet outside at a coffee shop if you're comfortable with that. So please, please don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like a mentor. I would love to introduce you to somebody. And on that note, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who's going to talk more about the grant making, GRCs, that I referenced, and how Impact Austen is including trust-based practices into our work. So let me introduce you to Becky Austin. She's an Impact Austen member, class of 2010. She's kind of a legend in Impact Austen, I don't mind saying. She's the current grant making and strategic partnership chair.
Thank you so much, Robin. When somebody introduces you as a legend, I'm not quite sure what to say after that. But let me share my journey a little bit. I know we've all talked a bit about our paths through Impact Austen. Like Lorene, I joined with the class of 2010, and just like Lorene, I went to what was called a coffee and was really a wine-filled evening with amazing women and just really remarkable people. And I remember going to that because I literally saw an ad in the Chronicle that said, join Impact Austen, it's a women's philanthropy group. And I thought that sounded interesting. So I showed up at a house full of strangers and kind of hung to the back. But by the end of that evening, after hearing all the stories and hearing from our founder, Rebecca Powers, and from her daughter, who was part of the foundation of Girls Giving Grants, and the community partner that showed up and the members that talked, I was sold. So I was in as a member that night. And throughout the evening, people talked about grant making and talked about serving on a grant review committee as a part of the experience. And so I left figuring that's just part of being an Impact Austen member, right? Like you join as a member with your fee and you join a grant review committee, and that's what you do. I didn't realize that was optional. So, then this was like late December. So a week later, I get an email that says, here's your GRC assignment and show up in this place and join the team. And I never looked back. I loved the experience as a GRC member and just kind of dove in deep that first year, spent a couple of years as a member, and then saw an opportunity to lead a GRC as a chair or co-chair. Did that for several years. And once you're in with the grants team, and if you love the work, there are so many opportunities. So I literally just started to make my way through all of the different roles in grants. Somewhere along the way, our then grants chair, Connie Lawyer, who's another legend, said to me one night, what do you want to do? Like you've done all these things, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to do what you do. And so next thing I knew is like, okay, Becky, you can be grants chair. So I was grants chair for a few years and then passed the torch to other remarkable leaders who took that on and kind of took it to the next level. But I've never gone away from grants. I said I would stick around in an advisory role, even as I moved out of the chair role. I work on partnerships and more of the outbound relationships that we have, but still stay really close to grants. And every time somebody tries to get me to join a different part of Impact Austen, a board or another committee, I say, well, I'm full up with grants, thank you. So I'm just gonna stay here. I'll also mention that, throughout that, 11, 12-year journey, I was an IBM executive. I was raising 2 young girls at the time, they're young adults now, but, middle and high school, serving on nonprofit boards, involved in other ways in the community. So sometimes folks will say, hey, this sounds great, but I don't have time for it. I made time and fit it in with the rest of my life. It's really flexible and just became one of the absolute best experiences I could imagine. And actually through the relationships that I developed with Impact Austen members and with community members, with other nonprofit leaders and other folks in the community, I ended up becoming a nonprofit executive. So when I retired from IBM 3 years ago and thought, I'm done. I kind of failed at retirement, and now I work at a nonprofit. So never say never. So being a part of the grants committee can literally take you just about anywhere. With that, let's go into the slides. We'll go ahead and talk a bit more about what grant making at Impact Austin looks like, and how you can get involved in that. And so I'm going to start talking about trust-based philanthropy. You may have heard this term. It's a theme that's emerging in the space around philanthropy that talks to a shift in power. If you look at traditional philanthropy, it talks more about, or it's based more on the center of power being the funder. So the funder holds the money, the funder makes the decisions, the applicants, the nonprofits, have to, kind of come to the funder and prove that they're worthy of earning a grant or earning that award. And oftentimes it's a hamster wheel. They're doing that, year on year on year, and trying to convince funders why they need the money and how they're going to, measure success. It's really important to have rigor in a process and to have, that type of vetting and to be able to make data-driven and fact-based decisions as a funder about who you're going to fund. But it's also not always an equitable approach. There are nonprofits that get left behind in that kind of a system, or that never even come to the table. They're not invited, or they're not aware of the opportunities. And so that power imbalance results in certain types of organizations being more successful with philanthropy than others. With a trust-based approach, you have more balance. You have that balance of power between the funder and the organization seeking funds. And the way you shift that power is really in the processes and in the relationships and in the ways that you do grant making. And so you'll see on the left side of the slide here that we're sharing principles like multi-year unrestricted funding, which says I'm putting trust in this organization to know how to spend my funds wisely, how to do it over a longer period of time, and how to do it with the flexibility that they need to adapt to changing needs of their clientele or the services or the space that they work in. This notion of doing the homework. So rather than expecting the organization seeking funds to show up with all of the proof points and all of the facts and know exactly, where they need to enter the pipeline and where they need to come out. Again, it's about, kind of putting the work on the shoulders of both the funder and the seeker. So doing more of that research and inquiry and inviting and bringing folks in as a part of that process. Having a more simplified and streamlined grant process. And that's all the way from application through grant award, through reporting, and out the other side. Being transparent, so, not holding back information or not, kind of having like you open one door, you get through, and then you have to open the next door and get through, but just being transparent about the process from start to finish and how that's going to work, and responding, in fairness and in speed to nonprofits and their needs. Soliciting and acting on feedback. So being willing to really listen to the community and hear what they're saying and adapt grant making processes to respond to that. And then supporting organizations beyond the grant. So it's not just about holding up the giant check and cheering and taking advantage of the photo op. It's about having an enduring relationship with the organizations that are funded and, again, treating them as equals in the process. Many of these principles have actually been a part of Impact Austin's grant DNA for years. So, for as long as I've been around and others, these are principles that we had embedded in our values and in our mission and in the work of all of our members. So some of this is not new to us, but some things we did, clearly there were opportunities for us to change, particularly when you think about a grant application that had over 24 questions on it, now it has 6. So, we clearly saw a way that we could have a process that had rigor and was still data driven and well informed and thorough, but without putting such a burden on the applicants in that process. So if you look at some of the key aspects of our grant making program as we're starting 2021, we offer 1 or 2 year grants in 4 distinct focus areas. In the past, we used to award 1 grant in each focus area or category. We now award grants to both finalists. And so we'll take the pool of money that's available for that grant category, split it 80-20, and the finalist with the most votes will get that 80% portion of the pool, and the second finalist will get the remaining 20% of the pool. So say we have 100,000 in the pool, 80,000 goes towards that primary grant, and then 20,000 towards the secondary grant. The primary grant has a 20% unrestricted portion, which means the organization can choose how they want to spend it. Traditionally, we have always had an allocation of funds that were considered for operations as part of our program grants. We now say it's fully unrestricted, so the organization can spend it on whatever they need, pencils or programs or people or what have you. The secondary grant is unrestricted fully, so the organization can spend that according to, to serve their mission. Again, we're kind of shifting that power equation and making the grant review process more balanced with the applicants and also easier on our members. We know that our members are, just like I, have been, working, raising families, active in the community, involved in, our own hobbies and passions and sports and travel and whatever it may be. So, having a streamlined process is important for all of the participants. So we've simplified that application. We've made it flexible, so in every category, an organization can request funding for programs or capacity building or both. You can apply as a single organization or with other organizations as a collaborative. Our reviews continue to be very much discussion-based and research-based. So we look to our members to do some of their own homework as they read the grant applications to learn more about the organizations. And then as a group, we score and discuss those applications and decide who's going to move forward. And then starting with our social innovation grant 2 years back and strengthening now with all of our grants in 2021, we're providing a foundation of learning around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging to all of our grant review committee members to ensure that they have a better understanding of Austin's history, of the balance of power and resources and capability across our community in the past and in the present, to lay a foundation for really understanding where the needs are and how best to direct Impact Austin grant funds. And then in terms of that support beyond the grant and that relationship aspect, our community partners are actually Impact Austin members as well. So once they earn a grant, a staff member from a community partner has the opportunity to participate as a fully fledged member of Impact Austin, serve on our committees, vote on the grants, and be a part of that process. And we provide that ongoing support throughout the grant cycle and beyond through our community partner liaisons. So you see, we've made, we started with a foundation in trust-based philanthropy. We've made some changes and a lot of progress in this area, and it's still a journey that we're on and have more to do as we go forward and hear back from our members and from our community. So let's shift to the next slide. We'll take a look here at the specific grant opportunities for 2021. We just opened the 2021 grant cycle to nonprofits to apply about a week ago. We have two grants in the spring for education and community, and you can see those descriptions here, and then 2 in the fall, health and well-being and equity. And the grant review committee cycles will run from February through May timeframe for the spring, and then we will award the grant at the annual meeting of Impact Austin in June. And then likewise, our fall grant cycle kicks off in July. Grant review committees will run through the summer and the early fall, and we'll have our award of those 2 grants at our town hall meeting in November. You'll see that the focus areas are similar to what we had in the past for program grants. We no longer have a catalyst grant category for capacity building. We've incorporated that capacity building capability into all of our grants. So applicants can apply for that for programs or for both. And the social innovation grant has evolved to be an equity grant that you see here in the fall, and we'll continue to have that focus on advancing equity for women and girls of color. If you want to understand more about just how our grant making process works or what it looks like for the applicants, go to the URL that you see at the bottom of the screen there, impactaustin.org/grantmaking. It has all the details on our grant processes, our evaluation criteria and process, the dates, and all the application details. So let's talk on the next slide about what it means to get involved in the grant process. You can be like me and just assume that it's not an optional part of your Impact Austin experience and just go ahead and sign up. But you also have agency in this and can make your own choices. I do highly recommend to all members that somewhere in their Impact Austin journey, they participate on a grant review committee. It's the heart and soul of the work that we do. There's so much learning to take place. You meet really remarkable women and work alongside them throughout this process. It's all run by members. So the whole process, you're side by side with other dedicated members, and it's just an outstanding experience. The sign-up cycle is open right now up through February 5th. So if you're interested in participating in that spring cycle, just jump right in. I'm pretty sure in the chat they're posting the links here that help you get enrolled in the grant review committee. The only thing you need to do there is just let us know your preferences. So if you prefer, a certain focus area, you can express that. We do ask that if you serve on a board or have other involvement with nonprofits, that you let us know that so we can manage any conflicts of interest. We don't want you to, serve on a grant review committee where your organization that you serve on their board may show up with a grant. So we'll manage that process with you. If you're not sure, you can wait and jump in the fall cycle. Just watch for emails to tell you to sign up in the summer timeframe. As I mentioned, there are lots of opportunities beyond just the grant review committee. All of the work of grant making is led by Impact Austin volunteers. New members, longtime members, and everything in between. And every position that you see here in the org chart represents a volunteer role. And this isn't even the extent of the org chart. These teams have lots of folks under them. So we typically have several dozen Impact Austin members involved in the grant process at any given time. So grant chairs, advisors, the nonprofit coordinators, and the CP coordinators there on the left work directly with nonprofits. So they're more outbound roles, and they also, again, have teams of folks that support the work that they do. The GRC coordinators, chairs, and advisors, and the GFC, or the Grant Finance Committee members, are more inbound, so they're focused specifically on the operation and the execution of the grant review process. And then we have a couple of distinct roles. Finalist coordinators work with those at the very tail end of the process and help shepherd them through that award selection. And then we have a team of folks that work on our underlying grants technology and make sure that all our systems run smoothly. So we've got opportunities in all of them. If you're not quite sure, like don't know if you're ready for prime time in a role, you can shadow, which means you can work alongside another member and support their work and kind of observe and learn in that role before you dive in deep. And then if all of this is maybe you're not ready for, or seems daunting, or you want to learn more or take a little bit more time, think back to what Robin talked about. There are lots of other opportunities to serve on Impact Austin committees and marketing and membership and finance, so many other ways. So you can get involved, kind of keep an eye on what's happening in grants and come in when you're ready. If you go to the impactaustin.org/GRC website, that will show you more about just ways to get involved and how to join a grant review committee. So with that, what I'd like to do at this point is turn it over to Nicole Genovese. Nicole is the Renaissance woman. So she's kind of doing everything. She, if you're signing up as a new member, if you're making a payment, if you're navigating Impact Austin, figuring out where to volunteer, Nicole is spinning every plate for Impact Austin, and you're bound to run across her. So I will turn it over to her to talk more about opportunities to learn more, navigate our website, and stay in touch through social media.
Perfect. Thanks so much for the great introduction, Becky. And I can just continue the common thread that other people have mentioned, that Becky is the thread that's tying me to Impact Austin too. I had the opportunity to work with her at another nonprofit here in Central Texas. And then I heard her talk about Impact Austin. And I am really passionate about where that intersection of women in philanthropy is, and kind of helping women on their journey as they're learning more and becoming more involved philanthropists and in their community. And I'm just really excited to be a part of each and every person's journey that's a part of Impact Austin. So thanks for letting me share that with you. I'm going to share my screen to just give a little bit of an overview of the amazing resources that are available on our website. I know that every nonprofit has a website and so many organizations have a website, but I will say that thanks to Judy McCarthy and Linda Yang and the rest of our awesome marketing committee, we have been slowly revamping our website to have more information available for the community and also members at large. So I just wanted to highlight a few of the things for you, and I'm going to share my screen. So just a few of the things that I know are kind of the top questions that I get asked, or how do I access that, or tell me more about the member portal. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about these things before we opened it up to question and answer. And I think the first thing is just going onto our homepage. There's really a lot of information that connects you to other things. So if you are connecting with a nonprofit that you think might be interested in applying for Impact Austin grants, you can click here and it'll take you to our grant making page. I love the CR impact page as a staff person, but also I think for members, it's really helpful, or potential members, to see the kind of grant making that we have done across the years, to see who our community partners are over the history. If you're thinking about making maybe an individual donation yourself to an organization and you're looking for what organizations might exist there out there in the community, that's a really great place to start. You can see some of the organizations that Impact Austin has supported and the projects that we supported. So that's a really cool place to see all those fun check pictures too. And here at the bottom, this spotlight will change. So as we're having our zone events, like Robin was talking about, those will be posted here. So it's kind of in news articles that have been happening. It's kind of a good home base, literally, for you to get some more information. And the one other thing I'll point out on here is at the bottom of all of our pages, but specifically you can find on the homepage here, is contact information. So if you're looking to send something to us via snail mail or wanted to reach out via phone or email, you can find that information really easily right here. And at the very bottom, you'll find our tax ID number. I know sometimes it can be hard to track down, but if you're looking for that information, just know you can click on our website and find it really easily at the very bottom of the page. So that's kind of just like touching base about things that are there, but I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about some of the things that people mentioned tonight. So one of those is our zone events. So I encourage you to go here if you're looking about how to get involved. And I think I may have seen some people filling out some forms while we were in this meeting, which is awesome to see. So thank you for doing that. But if you're interested in joining a different zone, maybe because this is really applied, as Robin said, when we were having in-person events, which we will have eventually again, and we're all fingers crossed hoping for that day to be sooner than later. But if you perhaps, I know a lot of members who work downtown, but maybe live in Southwest Austin. So they're members of both of those zones. So when we get back to those in-person events, if you are interested in being a member of more than one zone, you are absolutely able to do that. You can just use this page to kind of guide you through that. So that was one of the things that I wanted to show. And also because we are in grant review season, as Becky mentioned, if you go here under membership into this grant review committees, you'll find information about what is a GRC, what is this acronym that I keep hearing Impact Austin members use, and how do I join? So if you're looking to register for a grant review committee right now, you'll use this button and it'll take you to the form that Becky was mentioning where you put in your information and about any potential conflicts if you're serving on another nonprofit board or similar things. So that's where you'll go for that. But this just really has some great information about just basic information about what the process is, about how many, the time commitment, all those kinds of things. And if you're looking for any questions specifically about grant review committees, there's an email that connects you with one of our coordinators there. I think it's also important to mention our Girls Giving Grants program. These girls are doing such amazing work and have really pivoted in the pandemic to be, with all the obstacles that they have going on, being in high school and wanting to learn about philanthropy. They're just doing a great job. And thanks to Sue Breland and Sarah Williamson, our G3 advisors, for helping them along that journey. If you didn't already know about our Girls Giving Grants program, I just encourage you to visit this page and learn a little bit more about what the program is. It's for girls grades 8 through 12, and they go through the same process just as a traditional Impact Austin member, but it's really just an opportunity for them to learn what is philanthropy, what are some of these issues affecting kids and youth in Central Texas, and how can I make an impact? So we're really proud of this program, and they're in their season right now. So they are doing their reviews. If you have anybody, it follows the academic year calendar. So if you have a girl or know of a girl who you think may be a good fit for Girls Giving Grants, we really encourage you to visit this page in the late summer to get signed up. And then let's see, the other thing I want to mention before I move into the member portal is these buttons here up at top right. As I mentioned, our marketing team does a great job of getting any news that's going on from any of our committees out to the community, as well as to the nonprofit community about application deadlines and things like that. And I encourage you, if you have a favorite social media platform that you friend Impact Austin, so you can stay up to date on all things that we have going on. But I especially encourage, if you are a new member and joining today, that you go to this YouTube page, as you can see all of the, so if you missed maybe a Discovery Day session, this is where we're posting all of those videos. So you can review anything that maybe you missed, or maybe you were trying to take some notes and you feel like you missed one section. Please feel free to visit this page to see our Discovery Days videos from from this past year, or from this year, but also from years past. We have a lot of grant outcome videos. So in the same sense, on our CR Impact page, where you can learn more about community partners and the projects that they've done, at the conclusion of their grant, we have revisit those community partners to see, get more in depth about the project and what they were able to accomplish. So you can see all of those here. So I really encourage you to take a look at this. It's a really great resource. And then the last thing that I know I probably get asked the most questions about is our member portal. So I kind of wanted to just walk you through that just a little bit. So if you're on any of the pages, there's this blue button here that says member portal, and it's going to open up a new tab that looks to a page like this. I already have my username and password created, and so that's why you see that here. But if you are unsure about what your login is, or you need to reset your password, just email us at contact@impactaustin.org, and we'll be sure to get you set up with a password reset. So it's no problem at all. We'll be happy to do that. You'll also, once you log in, you'll often see a portal message of the day, and that is really just a way for us to communicate real-time events that are going on. So right now, because Discovery Days is our big event, we want to promote that as much as possible and make sure that members are registered. That is what we have right here, but you'll also see if there's, as the grant review committees are signing up, may change. So that's kind of whatever's the hot topic of the day, we want to try to include it there. And then you just continue onto the homepage. And this will look, generally speaking, like your page, your member information. So that's kind of the tab that's highlighted in yellow. That's where we're at right now. So you'll see this is for me, since I logged in as myself, that this gives a little bit more information about when you joined, so the member class year that you are, how many years you've been a member, and then some new information that maybe you might not have seen if you haven't logged into our member portal is we now have these listed about when you are eligible to vote on grants or join a grant review committee based on your membership payments. So this is what it looks like for me, but if you've been a member who's renewed, you may have a couple more fields filled out here. So it's a really great resource for you to be able to see, like, I think I paid in XYZ date, but I'm not sure. Am I eligible to vote for the spring grants, or am I eligible to join a grant review committee for this coming season? You can find that information right here. You'll also find the personal information that we have on file for you, meaning your contact information. So your name, your work phone, your mobile phone, email, address, those kinds of things. And you can also, if there's anything that needs to be updated, so if you move, or if it's just something is showing as blank and you want to add information for us, you can request an update using this button here, and it'll just make all of these fields editable, so you can input the information in, and we'll get an email to make that update for you. So that's that piece. And also just at the very bottom, you'll see the zone information. So this is the information that we have for you about which zone you're in. So again, if there's information that a different zone that you would like to join, we're happy to make that update for you. One of the things that I don't know that members realize is about this member directory, which is a really cool feature that, say, for example, here's Becky's name popping up again. She's like, I saw, Becky Austin at tonight's presentation, and I really connected with what she was saying, and I want to connect with her offline. You can type in the member's name here and hit search, and it's going to bring up that member here at the bottom using that search criteria. So perhaps I didn't know that her last name was Austen, or I just remember when I was at that coffee, I met someone named Robin, and she mentioned she lives downtown or something like that. There's a couple different classes of information how you can be researching people to try to connect with them. So put as much information as you know, and then you're going to click the person that once you find the person you're looking for, and this allows you to enter a message in to send to them. So while it doesn't give you their contact information specifically, through our member portal system, it enables that communication to take place. So it will send this information, your name and email, and then you could just say, Becky, I saw you as part of this panel, and I'm really looking forward to connecting. Here's my name and email if you want to reach out to me, and we can go grab a virtual coffee or something like that. So it's a really cool feature that I hope that more members will find and use. And if there's any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to us as you're using this. And we also have this page for feedback. So if we are constantly trying to make updates to all of our processes at Impact Austin, make things better and more efficient for our members. So if there's anything specific that you see as you're using the member portal, we invite you to give that feedback. One of the last things before I turn it over to question and answer is this volunteer opportunities. You can find this link here, but you can also find it's going to open up a page on our website. So, and it's going to be under membership. You can find it this way too, this volunteer. I really encourage everybody, if you haven't already filled out a volunteer interest form with Impact Austin recently, for you to visit this page, learn a little bit more about each of the committees that we have. So you can learn more about, advancement committee. What does that mean? What would I be doing as part of the advancement committee? You can see each of these committees here that we have, these big buckets. To learn, click on this arrow down here and you can learn a little bit more about that specific committee. We also have some hot jobs, what we're calling. So these are things that we're really looking to fill, volunteer positions that we're looking to fill. So if I encourage you to take a look at these and see what does it mean to be a membership chair? What does that involve? What does the commitment look like? And if there is something that you see that you're interested, either a committee or you just have some skills that you would like to share with Impact Austin, I encourage you to click on this form here. And this just gives you a space where you can put in your contact information, kind of your preferred form of communication and day to be contacted. Perhaps you really only like to do your volunteer opportunities on the weekend or in the evenings. You can let us know that information. And also there's some skills here that I encourage you to review. So maybe you are really into photography and you'd like to share some of those skills with Impact Austin, or public speaking, or you are a lawyer in your professional trade and you'd like to share that with us. I encourage you to click as many of these as apply. And then also at the bottom here, you'll find those committees where you saw on the volunteer form. So if there's a particular committee that speaks to you, perhaps the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee is something you're really passionate about and you want to let us know that. You can do that using this form here. And then you just hit if there's anything else, or if you have something specific that isn't listed above, a skill that you would like to share with us, we encourage you to write that down here and click submit. And then we're going to have one of our volunteers connect with you afterwards and just get a little bit more information based on how you filled out the form about what may be the best fit for you. So I think that those are the things that I wanted to cover, and I would love us to open it up to question and answers. If there's anybody who has any specific questions or things that we didn't cover or I covered too quickly, perhaps, that we can revisit, I'd love that. I don't see any questions that have come in through the audience, but I know that some of the common questions that come up for people is that, they're not an expert in philanthropy or nonprofits, and how can they contribute to Impact Austin? So I wonder if we might have, Becky, if you might address that just a little bit, talking about, I don't know anything about nonprofits, so I don't know if I can, and I know that Robin talked a little bit about this too, but if you have anything to add, I would love that.
Sure. We have an education component in all of our grant making. So we know that folks show up as Impact Austin members with anywhere from 0 to 100% of an understanding of grant making or nonprofits or the needs of the community or finance or what have you. So we teach our members through, from start to finish, how to evaluate a grant, how to understand the needs of the community. We invite them to also go to things like discovery days to get a better understanding of just, what's going on in our Central Texas area and what the needs of the nonprofits are in the current time. So there are lots of different resources to help them learn, and we step them through every part of the grant review process along the way. And again, the folks that run the grant review committees are also members, and they've all been on this journey. So they know what it feels like. And, Robin mentioned being intimidated that first time, and then she came in and realized, hey, I don't have to be intimidated. They're going to, take me every step of the way and show me how the process works. So we make sure that you're successful through that training. And also we have a lot of support. We have not just the co-chairs, but advisors and other resources surrounding you. So if you're ever unsure of something or you need the help of a more experienced peer, those folks are going to show up. The whole point of Impact Austin is that we are a learning organization. So we know that you're here to learn, and you may not have that expertise when you come in, but you'll certainly have it at the other end of the process.
Yeah, there was a great question that came in here I saw. And Lorene, I'd love for you to maybe kick us off and say, what is your very favorite part of your involvement with Impact Austin?
Getting to know more about the needs in the community and the fact that together we put our money and resources, time, talent, and make a huge impact. Now, there's also this other thing that I'll call the ripple effect. And what I mean by that is you may be involved with an organization, you sit through the annual meeting and you see who gets the award, and there's a group that doesn't get the award, and what their mission is tugs at your heart. And so then you find yourself either volunteering your time or talent, money, to that organization because you learned about it through Impact Austin. So it's not just Impact Austin and then the door is closed. It has such an effect, such a positive effect and impact that ripples out through the community. So you'll find yourself not only involved with Impact Austin, but maybe some other organizations that need the talent and can benefit from what you know and what you have learned at Impact Austin. Because it is a very learning organization, as Becky has said, and you learn so much so fast that it helps you in so many other areas of your life, your church and other organizations as well.
Robin, what's your favorite part? Share your favorite part.
My favorite part is actually serving on a grant review committee. I've served on 4 in the past 3 years, and I'm going to be a shadow on the community GRC this spring. And I just love it. I always feel like I walk away with a lot of education, and I love meeting the other women that serve on the committee, and it's very inspiring.
So Nicole, can we just talk a little bit about expectations? I think it's come pretty clear tonight that you do not have to come into this organization and wait for an opportunity to serve. You heard Robin talk about coming in and getting involved and now chairs 2 pretty important phases of our operation. So I just want to be clear that the expectation is you give whatever you feel is appropriate for you. Sometimes you come in, you can be very involved, and then life happens and you have to pull away for a while. But it's very easy to re-engage and get back in. So there's no requirement to be in the organization for X period of time. When I joined, I had no idea that I would end up as a board chairman.
We knew, you just didn't know it yet.
When I joined, I was more interested in pooling my money with other people because the formula sounded like one for success to me. And I was right at that intersection of where I needed to decide, you're going to keep doing galas or you're going to put your money someplace else. And so that part of it worked out quite well for me, but I had no idea that I would end up as board chair. And just a little bit of historical perspective, the early adopters had been funding the organization beyond the fees that we were paying. So during the time I was board chair, it was really interesting time because that's when we decided this model is not sustainable. And so we have to do something different. And we were able to do that in a way that was very, very beneficial to the organization. So all that said, don't think that you have to be so smart, so sharp, know everything, or that you have to wait around. You do not have to stand back in the shadows and wait for an opening. You jump right in and with both feet.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, Christina and I joke sometimes when we're on calls or in meetings, when we're both present, that this is 100% of Impact Austin staff that you're seeing in front of you. There's just 2 of us. It's just our executive director and myself. And while we are both full-time, we could not do any, the vast majority of the things that Impact Austin does on a day-to-day basis, we need help with. And that's why, our Impact Austin members are really involved in the day-to-day work if they would like to be. And also if there is just a one-off opportunity of, I need help, gathering this list. Do you have an hour that you can help me with this project? That, we have volunteers that volunteer that way too. So it really does run the gamut and allows people some flexibility for when life things do happen, that they can, take a step back and then get re-engaged when they're able to have that time.
Hey, Nicole, I saw a question in there. Somebody asked, do members volunteer with the grantees after they award the grant? That came from Laura, so I can answer that one.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We have a role, I kind of flew past it in my slides and in my talk, but we have a role called the Community Partner Liaison, which is a team of members, again, who essentially follow the community partner or the grantee from the day they are awarded an Impact Austin grant through the life cycle of their grant. So if they're spending it over a 1-year period, over a 2-year period, there's an Impact Austin member that is their connection to Impact Austin throughout that time. So that volunteer helps to ensure that the organization is meeting the commitment of the grant. So if they said they're going to deliver a learning program to 100 kids in East Austin, then our CPA liaison kind of checks with them periodically to make sure that they're actually meeting that commitment, or if they need to make an adjustment, that's sound and that we understand why they're making that change. So we have those liaison roles, and again, any members can volunteer to shadow or to perform in one of those roles if they want to work directly with a nonprofit community partner after the grant is awarded. And kind of as Lorene alluded, although the grant cycle itself may go for a year or two, the relationships we have with our community partners tend to be more enduring. Austin's a big city, but it's a small town. These are folks that we run across, time and again. Community partners come back and speak at our events. We show up at their events. We end up on their boards. We end up as volunteers with their organizations. So the formal relationship as a CP liaison, is a structured role for Impact Austin, but informally, I would, say that there are lots and lots of threads that remain tied between our community partners and our members for a long time after. And not just community partners, folks that made it 1 or 2 cycles through our grant review process and then got, taken out somewhere along the way just because there were other stronger grants. They keep coming back, they keep applying, and we develop those relationships as well.
I see we only have a few minutes left, so I wondered if there's any final thoughts. Robin, did you have any final thoughts before we close? We can all kind of say 1 or 2 things.
Sure. I would love for you to attend one of our zone events. They're really fun. I promise they're not unorganized, because you're given an opportunity to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself. It's also a great networking opportunity.
Fantastic. Becky, did you have any final thoughts?
Well, you can probably sense my enthusiasm about being a part of the grant process. So if you have the capacity to do that, we'd love to see you there. I cannot imagine what the last 11, 12 years of my life would have been like without Impact Austin. It has been that meaningful for me, and relationships that I've developed there. I would not have known all the folks here were it not for Impact Austin. So I'm just really grateful for that. And it's why I just keep showing up year after year and paying my membership and taking on another volunteer role, because I just love being a part of this community.
Fantastic. Well, and I'll just make a plug for our next session that's on Friday for Discovery Days, Issues Facing Central Texas Women. We're going to have Dr. Gina Jackson from the Texas Women's Foundation presenting. They do a report every 3 years, and we're going to be one of the first organizations to hear that report from 2020 and the data and how that impacts Texas issues right now. But I'm going to turn it over to Lorene if she has any final thoughts before we close.
Yes, my final thought is, if you are not convinced by now, then please tune in to the event for Friday and the next one that talks about discovering Central Texas issues, because they're very, very enlightening. And then the last session's about philanthropic education. So if we haven't convinced you, please continue to tune in, and there has got to be a hook that gets you. And once we get you, you're in. So just be aware.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so much. And thank you all for joining. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.